Nestled at the base of the Chuckanuts, where the mountains meet the sea, is a beautiful urban forest that one would expect to find only in remote areas. Here on Bellingham's south side, between the Interurban Trail and Fairhaven Park, is an area of rich biological diversity with abundant wildlife. The headwaters of two watersheds originate here. High-quality wetlands comprise almost half the area, second-growth forest and steep slopes the rest. Great horned owls hunt here. Deer, raccoons, foxes, coyotes, and other species make this place their home. Sea-run cutthroat trout have even been seen spawning in the waters. The peace and tranquility one finds here are almost unknown in an urban area. We're standing here in South Fairhaven looking at a beautiful second-growth forest in this very peaceful valley. 15 years ago, the Madrona Corporation wanted to build 1,400 housing units up here in the forest. Interurban Neighbors was formed as a community response to that inappropriate development. The Cascades meet the sea in this part of the Northwest, and it's a rare place where the mountains do come down to the sea.
And come in town.
And come right through town.
That habitat corridor, that habitat linkage, as well as the viewscape, as well as the multiplicity of values that this natural area holds right now and functions as right now. I think it does tie in. I think it ties in. There's a groundswell of community enthusiasm and interest and dedication, commitment to preserving the Chuckanuts. There's a group in Skagit that's working on the southern Chuckanuts. We're working on the northern Chuckanuts right now. This ties in naturally as a landform, as well as habitat, as well as public human use.
Right now, you see that major wetlands we are following along. This is where it's coming out, at least the surface part, and subsurface-wise, it's flowing through this system too. And right now, it's just going into this ditch, and then eventually down to Padden Creek. There's some also flowing down to the right, subsurface-wise. But again, a concern is with compacting the area up above, putting roads in and building sites and so forth, changing the runoff pattern so it's more flashy flows all at once. It's going to aggravate the problem here, obviously. And Chuckanut Drive is acting as a barrier. Right now there are problems with just this road intercepting flow.
Viewcrest is where the arterial was supposed to start, and it's a major problem in terms of siting.
We don't, of course, see it as a developable site like other people might. Obviously, architects are going to look at it differently, but so many people in the community do treasure it, and you know, its proximity to the Interurban Trail, and now that we've seen it has so many wetlands and unbuildable sites, and the concern of the road, and you know, there's just a lot of things beyond just how close it is to a wetland, etc.
We have to do this kind of development right or not do it at all.
We need to maintain nature within the city.
The more sensitive areas and the more valuable areas are the areas that they'll try to avoid. And the areas that are less valuable and less habitat for creatures and less biologically diverse and so on and so forth are the areas that they'll try to preserve for those functions.
The problem is you can protect the most valuable, but if you don't leave a large enough buffer, they're going to be worthless.
Now a new owner, Greenbrier Construction, along with their financial partner Horizon Bank, has plans to build 739 multifamily housing units up here in the forest. This proposed development has met with controversy and community concern.
It'll add a lot of pollutants to the wetlands and overpower it. I mean, wetlands are supposed to filter, but I don't think there's any doubt that it'll overwhelm them. The skunk cabbage, which is just a beautiful rite of spring, will probably suffer as well as every other living creature down here.
It's important to me to keep the trail in its condition as it is right now, because when I enter the trailhead here, I feel like I'm isolated from the urban environment somewhat by the buffer zone of the trees and the natural area on either sides of the trail.
I've lived in a great many places across the country as a part of the process of finding a community that I really felt at home in. And when I came here, I felt a spirit, a feeling among the people who lived here that they really respected nature.
I'm moving to Auburn actually this month, so one thing I noticed about Auburn in terms of its difference from Bellingham is Bellingham has just a beautiful green space and trails network, and when I went down there I noticed almost immediately the difference between a planned community like Bellingham with careful attention to green space and a place like Auburn where they haven't been nearly as good about preserving areas.
The thing that I appreciate most about having the trail system that we have here in Bellingham is an opportunity to hear the silence. Life gets so noisy, and I think we get distracted from our inner purpose when we can't hear the silence and appreciate the beauty of the woods.
I think it's the last jewel in our community. It is the crown. It's the reason why people come for our business from Chuckanut to come out Chuckanut Drive. They come from all over the world just to drive down the street and experience the whole beauty of it. And this is part of it. This is what they expect.
It's just going to be years of noise and diesel fumes, hammering, more vehicles, and this road they're talking about crossing over the interurban trail is just going to destroy the serenity down here.
A new community group called Responsible Development has been formed to deal with the issue with the ultimate goal of saving the 100-acre wood.
Horizon Bank and Greenbrier are committed to working with the neighbors, if they'll work with us. We're committed to being good neighbors. We're committed to working with the Parks Department. We're committed to working with the Greenways folks if we have any common benefit.
You have pointed to Issaquah Highlands as your model for this development. My question is, I've seen a lot of photographs now of Issaquah Highlands, and there's just about not a tree left standing. So I guess I'm wondering about this conflict between what I've heard about your desire to do green building and leave a lot of trees and protect the wetlands, when your model mowed down every tree and it's all about cars, impervious surfaces, and pavement.
We'll have a heck of a lot of trees left. If they have none, we're way ahead of them. We would like to build 10-story buildings. We would like to put them in the woods.
You want to build 10-story apartment buildings or condominiums on that site. You are changing the complexion of this entire area, and it's outrageous. It's outrageous. But I tell you what, you got some guts, pal. But now, even I'm on board with some of these folks, and I assure you, I'm one of the few conservatives who live in this town, but I'm opposed to it, big time.
Who requested the rezone from rural to urban density, which was at the time it was rezoned higher than anything that was surrounding it. The density that was approved in 1980 was higher than everything that was around it. I would like to know who requested that rezone, since nobody seems to know why it happened, and even the mayor is on record saying that it's inappropriate.
I don't know. I wasn't involved with those people. The prior owners weren't involved at that time either.
It seems pretty obvious from this group, and probably a larger group, that although you're offering it to the community, this community doesn't really want it.
We have problems all over the community with growth. You know what the problems are? You people. Builders don't create customers. Customers create desires to live in a home.
In the urban village and urban neighborhood concept that the city has put forward, the requirement for South neighborhood by the year 2022 is to absorb 250 new dwelling units. This man is proposing 734 immediately. There is no way that this neighborhood should be required to take that much of a burden for infill in the urban growth area.